Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Curry's Mystery Box. This is really helpful as an outlet to be able to yap about things, and I'm definitely going to be doing these a lot more often. Don't expect a consistent upload schedule, but I don't know, don't expect like one video a week or one video a month or anything like that. I will do them as I feel like it. I'm sorry if that's not consistent enough rather for some people, but what can I do, you know? In today's topic, movie stuff, movie things, and other things related to entertainment media. I'm going to be covering why movies and most things suck nowadays, what I value in movies and why, the YMS Effect. Can you hear that siren in the background? How to find good movies and other things, my current favorite movies, and movies that I hate. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the first topic here. Why movies and most things suck nowadays. I had an interesting conversation with ChatGPT about this. I started with, I have somewhat strong opinions about movies, TV shows, music, etc. And a lot of it has been influenced by a reviewer by the name of Your Movie Sucks. While I'm grateful to have new analytical tools that I can use to determine what is good and what is bad content, other people seem to come to the wrong impression that I just hate everything, basically. Even though that's not true at all. At least that's how I feel, right? I genuinely feel that most movies, most TV shows, and most music is really just not that good. Which, you know, understandably can create the illusion that I hate everything. But my question is entertainment media, movies, TV shows, and music really mostly that bad? Or am I just a pessimist who hates everything and should learn how to shut my brain off when consuming media? So, this is a great question, and it really gets at the heart of taste analysis and the nature of modern entertainment. So number one, is most entertainment media actually that bad? So, pretty much everything ChatGPT says here I already, for the most part, agreed with. It was difficult for me to compartmentalize and actually, like, I don't know, just to formulate a more put-together opinion, if that makes sense. You're not wrong for feeling that most movies, TV shows, and music is not great. In fact, there are objective and subjective reasons for why this might be the case. Quantity versus quality is probably the biggest one. So, the entertainment industry is largely about profit, which means a lot of content, unfortunately, is made to appeal to the widest audience possible, which, as a consequence, leads to formulaic, uninspired projects that prioritize familiarity over risk-taking. That's why you see so many superhero movies. That's why you see so many remakes. That's why you see so many of, like, even if it's like a quote-unquote original idea, it always feels, like when you watch the movie, it always feels like I've seen this movie before. This is such a generic plot, and these characters get into conflicts with each other that when they were fucking hunky-dory the whole movie, and all of a sudden, well, the script requires conflict, so therefore one character should be behaving irrationally. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And when you watch enough movies and you expose yourself to some of the inherent flaws that entertainment media suffers from, you can't unsee them after a while. Lack of artistic integrity is another big thing. Many movies, shows, and songs are designed more as products than genuine artistic expression. Just think of cookie-cutter pop songs, derivative superhero movies, like I just mentioned. Endless remakes, endless sequels, right? Overproduction and market trends. So streaming platforms and social media have encouraged the production of content at an overwhelming rate, sometimes prioritizing quantity over thoughtful craftsmanship. And critical thinking and high standards. Really, as you as an individual become more analytical and start to like refine your tastes a little more, it's only natural to notice patterns and flaws that others might otherwise ignore. A movie that seems fun to a casual viewer might seem lazy, cliched, or poorly made to someone who's actually studied the medium. That might be over-exaggerating a little bit. Have I studied the medium? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't sat down with a fucking like pen and paper and physically wrote down all the things that one should look for in a good movie, and like, I don't know. I don't know if study is the most appropriate word, but I definitely know what to look for in a good movie, and it's hard to miss. At least nowadays, it's hard to miss things, or it's hard to miss what to look for in a bad movie, right? In a way, yeah, there is a lot of bad content out there. And if you've trained yourself to see the flaws, you're going to notice them more than the average person. Number 2, do I actually hate everything? No. But it is understandable why people would think so. If you're mostly vocal about if you're mostly vocal about criticism rather than praise, people will assume that you dislike everything. Now, this happens a lot with analytical reviewers like YMS, Red Letter Media, and Anthony Fantano. They don't hate everything. They just highlight the flaws because, number one, they value quality, and number two, and this is, I always find that people forget that this is a thing. They highlight the flaws of something because it's their fucking job. They are reviewers, okay? They're reviewers. If you're used to reviews only talking about the positives of something, then guess what? You're not actually watching a review. You're watching paid content. You're watching paid advertising. A reviewer who talks about a new-ish whatever movie that is currently in theaters or has just released it, whatever, and they only say positive things, they were paid to make that review to say positive things about it. Review channels like YMS, like Red Letter Media and Anthony Fantano are like the last bastion of hope that we have for actually kinda sorta real content and reviews. If something about this fucking thing sucks, I want to know and it be explained what fucking sucks about it. Like, I don't want a reviewer to blow smoke up my ass and tell me that everything about this particular thing is good and just never focus on any of the negative things. Because that's not how reviews should be. There's no such thing as a perfect movie. Except for your favorite movie. Again, like I said, I feel like that's just a really common thing that so many people in the comments, YouTube comments, oh, why are they so critical of everything? It sounds like they just hate everything. Hey, dumbass, it's their job. It's not their job to hate everything. It is their job to highlight the flaws of something. That's what being a reviewer is. And if you don't like it, then don't watch it. It is worth reflecting. Do I still get excited when I find something great? Absolutely. One of the more recent good movies that I saw well, a couple of them were the Barbie movie, weirdly enough, and Parasite. And I went in with no expectations. I'm just blown away by both those movies. Parasite especially so. But yeah, that might be one of my new like favorite movies, honestly. It's so good. Do you actively seek out media you love instead of just avoiding what you dislike? It can be difficult, especially considering like how, I mean, I don't know, trailers, either A, the trailer just doesn't do it justice, or B, good or otherwise risk-taking movies are, you just kind of don't really hear about them. And, well, to be fair, if you have uBlock Origin, if you've tailored your existence around avoiding advertisement at most costs, then it can be kind of difficult to, to really hear about anything. I don't know. Generally speaking, though, when I look for new movie recommendations, I usually go through YMS. That doesn't mean that anytime, either friends or whoever are saying, we're going to go see a movie, that doesn't mean that, well, YMS hasn't said anything about it, or they said something bad, so therefore I'm just not going to see it. It's like, that just sounds really boring and depressing. You have to, I hate to say it, but you have to subject yourself to the pain of a shitty movie every now and again. And plus, you'll know what kind of movie it is within the first 5 to 10 minutes of it. At that point, you don't need to turn, if you're like me, you don't need to turn your brain off. You just need to switch modes. You have to, instead of taking this particular thing seriously, like if you already know this movie is going to be shit, don't turn your brain off. Just turn it to a different mode. View the movie as a comedy, no matter what genre it might be. Jack and Jill, I would say, is like one of the best examples of that, where it's almost like sad just to think that a boardroom of writers got together and wrote the jokes for this movie and act like with genuine, like real intent on making an audience laugh. And the only enjoyment that you as a person with a brain can get out of it is just how bad the fucking humor is in the movie. Do you talk about things you enjoy, or do you mostly discuss what frustrates you? And I think that's one of the key points with me, is that I don't know. I mean, I find it difficult to talk about the things I enjoy, seeing as how most people either just don't ask me what movies or things that I like, or two, when they do ask me, like anybody else, I just draw a blank and I just cannot fucking think of anything. Yeah. For some reason or another, I mean, well, everyone has go-to movies that, everyone has go-to movies that they don't really have to think about when asked, oh, what are your favorite movies? First ones that come to mind, obviously, are Pulp Fiction, The Matrix, the Lego Movie. I mean, I love those movies in particular because I liked them the first time I watched them. I wished that I could go back in time and watch those movies for the first time again. And they're movies that are so good that I rewatch them a lot. And that's something that I do with a lot of other things that I enjoy. I would say even more so, I would say even more so with video games too. I don't know. I just think the moniker or title of gamer is just really cringe. And I don't know what it is. Number one, I think the term / label is just cringe. And number two, there's something about the cadence of the word gamer I don't know what it is. It just bothers me. You know how some people don't like the word moist, or I don't know. That's usually the go-to when people talk about. There's just some words you just don't like the way they sound. That's one of them. Gamer is one of them. I have a list of other words that I hate, and I'm gonna list every single one of them. Okay, let's see. Out of 1,500. No, I'm just kidding. With video games, I don't define myself under the label of a gamer because number one, I just think it's cringe. And number two, I find that most people that define themselves that way prioritize quantity over quality, right? They have, they've amassed massive collections of video games, and they prioritize the completion of those video games as a sort of badge of honor, which if you enjoy those things, I have nothing against it. I don't care, really. But I don't do that. And I know there's gamers of all different shapes and sizes, but I don't know. I'm not one of those people that plays a game and then just never plays it ever again. And I'm not saying that every gamer does that. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable with the title of gamer because I just don't really feel like a gamer. I play video games, but I do it in my own way, if that makes sense. And that particular way seems to stray away from what we would traditionally define as a gamer. That's just my personal opinion. If you disagree, let me know. One of the biggest giveaways for that is that I'm really not into new games of most kinds. I don't know. There's something about new games that just always turns me off. The fact that graphic fidelity, there's such an overemphasis on graphics and the amount of content within a game. Like, every single fucking new game takes like fucking an hour, like 30 minutes to an hour to actually install into your system. If you're playing on console, that is. And then when you install it, it has some kind of fucking update. And then when you play it, you have to make an account just to be able to play it. And then you finally get to playing it, and then you're just like, well, I don't know what I was waiting for. This game's fucking not that good and boring. Like, I don't know why I don't know. It's just, I don't know what happened to the days of just buying a game, taking the disc out of the fucking case, putting it in the system, and just playing the fucking game. What happened to that shit, man? What happened to that? I don't know why it has to be so complicated nowadays. And don't even get me started on microtransactions, because I'm going to keep talking about that. The point of this particular segue is that I just really don't... I don't know. I just don't really care for new things, especially new video games. I find myself just replaying a lot of the older video games that I've already played through, and keeping as neutral of a mindset as possible to either relearn things I forgot or learn new things on a subsequent playthrough. And I don't know, I enjoy that more, as well as like games with inherent replay value or competitive style games. I just prefer those, honestly. Fighting games like Super Smash Bros. Melee and rhythm games are, I just like them. And the same can be said about movies, too. Excuse me. The same can be said about movies for me, too. I tend to go back and watch movies I've already seen before, because that's, again, all the same reasons. Number one, I just enjoy the movies, and number two, I don't know, I keep a neutral mindset, as though I've already watched it for the first time, so that I can either relearn things that I forgot or learn new things. If you're still passionate about media and find things you appreciate, then no, you don't hate everything. Number 3, should you learn to shut your brain off? And this phrase gets thrown around a lot, usually, unfortunately, as a way to dismiss criticism. Here's the thing. Enjoyment and analysis are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to turn your brain off to enjoy something. But you can adjust your expectations, like I had mentioned before. If you already know a movie's going to be shitty, then just watch it through a different lens. You're like, okay, this movie's shitty, so I will now, therefore, watch this as a comedy. Because there's nothing you can do. Different media serves different purposes. A silly action movie doesn't need deep themes to be entertaining. A pop song doesn't need complex lyrics to be catchy. Not everything necessarily has to be high art. Context matters too. Is something failing on its own terms? Right? A popcorn movie isn't trying to be a deep character study. And a pop song isn't trying to be a symphony. Right? You can still criticize lazy execution, but it helps to evaluate things within their intended scope too. And you have to find balance. If you're always in critic mode, you might struggle to enjoy anything. You have to try just letting yourself just experience media sometimes. Just experience it then and analyze it later. You're not crazy for thinking that most entertainment is bad, because a lot of it is uninspired or mediocre. But if criticism is overshadowing your ability to enjoy things, it might be worth seeking out content that excites you and more so focusing on what you love and not just on what you dislike. Instead of asking, why is everything bad? Ask yourself, what do I love and why? What are some movies, shows, or albums that I think are genuinely good? I think that segues into the next topic. Well, what I value in movies and why. What I value in movies and why. I don't really feel like reading all of that. And it goes into a lot of... it goes into a lot of movies that I enjoy. Movies and TV shows that I enjoy, but it delves into why, but it's specific to those particular movies, and I just don't really feel like getting into all that. Let me think here. What I value in movies and why. If a movie's just good or not, I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. Okay, if a movie does not fall into using the most traditional storyline structure as a crutch, right? There is a specific word for it. It's like the something mountain or hill or whatever it is. And, you know, I don't know, I just don't really care that much for... I don't care when a movie is predictable. I don't care when a movie is I don't care for a movie, rather, when it's very clear, very early on, that it's not going to take any risks, that it's going to play it as safely as possible, that it's going to be as predictable as possible. And above all else, that it's just going to be boring because of that, you know? I really severely dislike most animated children's movies. Unsurprisingly, you know, because I'm an adult. And let me also clarify here that just because an animated children's movie happens to be directed towards children doesn't mean that adults just aren't allowed to enjoy it or criticize it. I think that's fucking stupid. Because that mindset comes from the misled belief that all children's movies are kind of bad. And that's just not true. There are more than a handful of children's movies that are really, really good, that bridge that gap, that can be enjoyed by kids for their own, Jesus, for their own, I hate to say it, rather simplistic reasons. And for the adults that took them to the theater can watch it and be like, wait a minute, this movie's actually kind of good. I hope they'll understand this later when they either rewatch it again or whatever it is. There's something for the adults watching too, right? I think that's honestly what's missing from most animated kids movies, is that it's all just, I hate to say it, it's all just fucking brain rot. Like, there's just no substantive quality to any of these things. It's predictable, bland, and boring. I hate when a movie dangles a character over a ledge or puts them in just like really preposterously unrealistic situations where, above all else, you know that this character is not fucking in danger at all. And all their comrades and friends are biting their nails or covering their eyes, thinking that this is such a high stakes situation. I'm just sitting there like, I know how this is going to end. They're going to be fine. And I'm not going to be emotionally manipulated by this fucking movie. I don't feel the same thing. And what bothers me, I hate to say this, that not only are there kids watching the movie that are at the edge of their seat, but there are adults that are actually fucking buying into this. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, how do you not see this? Like, I don't get it. This is like the 10th or 12th movie you've seen that did this stupid fucking bait and switch trick that is just, I don't know. I hate when a movie is predictable. That's one of the main things with me. Let me see if I can find what I said about the, whoops, what I can find about these movies. Let me see here. Or actually, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll move on to the YMS Effect. It hasn't happened to that many people, but it's definitely happened to my girlfriend. And it's not such an extreme thing that, you know, it's completely ruined her movie-going experience. But she does tend to notice certain things a little more often than she used to. And she's noticed this, too. I think I have a couple of other friends that have said the same thing. Basically, when I introduce them to movie reviewers like YMS, when I introduce them to movie reviewers like YMS, they then, unfortunately, stop really enjoying a lot of the things that they either previously enjoyed or new things that they try to enjoy, because they now can't unsee the things that this particular movie reviewer points out. It's not YMS's fault. It's not like he's just gaslighting his audience into believing these things. It's that a majority of these movies have such common traits and flaws that it's just hard not to notice them. I forget what the first YMS review that I ever watched was. Had to have been a pretty early YMS video. I don't know precisely which one it is. It doesn't matter. But I've been watching YMS for a very, very long time. And I value what I value from being a YMS enjoyer is knowing what to look for in bad movies, and more importantly, what to look for in good movies. I would love to believe in the worldview that, oh, well, everything's subjective. You might not like what I have to say about this, but I honestly think that's rarely the case. I'm sorry, honestly. I really don't feel that that is the case most of the time. I think set and setting matter more than that. I think the environment you're in matters too. Your mindset at the time. I mean, just there's so many other factors that go in to what should otherwise be not necessarily a subjective experience. But there's been movies that were supposed to have, knocked me out of the park, blew me away, and I watched them, and for some reason I just didn't really enjoy them at that particular time. I then went back and watched that the best example that I can think of is Dead Poets Society. I watched it, I think, when I was like, oh man, I had to have been like in my early 20s when I first watched that movie. And I watched it like a year or two ago, and I was like, why did I think this movie was so bad at the time? And it's like, well, it was 7 or 8 years ago that I watched the movie, number one. And number two, I distinctly remember just the set and setting of me watching that movie just not being particularly good. I remember being really tired. I remember feeling like I was obligated to watch the movie. I don't know. All of it factors into your experience. And I don't believe watching a movie once could ever possibly dictate how it is you interpret whatever interpretations you come to with that particular movie. Watching a movie one time, I'm not convinced is enough. I think you have to watch a movie like at a minimum 2 times in order to fully come to. What the fuck is she doing? Sally, get out of there. Get out of there. I'm fully convinced that you have to watch a movie twice. To have a fully fleshed out opinion of the movie, you have to watch it at a minimum of twice. And that's just what I've found, and that's my experience of the thing. I don't know if this is necessarily true for everybody, but it definitely is true for me. I would prefer... I prefer good, but sometimes otherwise confusing movies be at least entertaining enough in their own right that I shouldn't necessarily feel the need to watch it twice. But there are some movies that it's almost necessary to watch it twice. For example, Synecdoche, New York is definitely one of those. I can't think of any others right now for some reason, but yeah. I think I've talked enough about the YMS effect. In summation, it's something that happens to people that I introduce YMS to. They watch one YMS review. All of a sudden, they try to enjoy movies, and they're like, what the fuck? Everything sucks. How to find good movies and other things. Need to go to my stopwatch. How to find good movies and other things. Let me think here. Well, really just having a clear and, most importantly, neutral mindset, I think is the most important thing, not just with movies, but with anything, really. And I do know and understand that it can be difficult to not formulate expectations before watching something. But, I don't know. It also is kind of not that important either, because there have been movies that I ended up loving. There's movies that I ended up loving when I went in with the expectation I probably wouldn't like it that much. And there's movies that I ended up disliking when I went in with the expectation that I was going to love it. I think the safest thing that you, as a viewer, can do is not formulate any expectations before going into it. You have to just clear your mind and be as neutral as possible, really. That way, whatever opinion you come to, it's as close to the real thing as possible, if that makes sense. There are good movies, right? After you know what to look for with bad movies, it can seem like a lot of movies are really not particularly good. A lot of TV shows are not particularly good. A lot of movies are not particularly good. There's plenty of not so great music that I listen to that I've continued to listen to because I just so happen to enjoy it. But when it comes to like how to find good movies and other things, like I said, having a neutral mindset is as good as you're going to get. How did I find... Honestly, I can't sit here and see how it is that, like, watching a good, reputable reviewer is not a good way to find good movies. Are they going to give you, you know, their own subjective lists of movies that they like? Sure. But that's still a good starting point. There have been plenty of movies that I've watched that either IMDb or whatever movie watching app like HBO Max or Netflix has then recommended to me based off of that particular thing that I watched, right? Now, is this always going to be the case that I watch this one thing and therefore I'm going to enjoy this other thing that this thing recommends? No. Case in point, the Lego Movie, and then the Lego Movie 2. And basically any other subsequent Lego movies. The Lego Movie, number one, is the only movie you actually need to... Or it's the only Lego movie you actually need to watch. It actually is that good. Let's say you don't have that, though. Excuse me. Again, just don't go in with the mindset that, oh, this movie doesn't look like it's going to be good, therefore it's probably not going to be good. I don't know. Just you don't have to make it a hobby to watch movies or anything like that. I don't know. If you're not me, well, that's not true. If you're anything like me, you can find it sometimes difficult to even continue watching a movie if you already know it's going to be not particularly good. But I don't know. I find that to be a useful tool because it's like, well, at least I know now. You can pretty quickly formulate an opinion about something and probably not be wrong about it. It can be difficult if you're watching the movie with somebody. For example, this might come as a surprise to some people. I did not care for Wayne's World. I'm sorry, but I did not care for Wayne's World. I thought it was kind of eh. I didn't really particularly care for it or enjoy it. And I didn't even form any expectations about it beforehand. I knew about the movie, through memes and stuff like that, and I had seen blips of it when I was younger, but I never actually sat down and fully watched the movie. And I have got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit. Wayne's World it just doesn't work. It's just not that funny to me. I also learned that the whole no playing Stairway to Heaven at guitar centers or guitar shops, I thought that was a thing before Wayne's World. It turns out that was not a thing before the movie. Wayne's World literally just made that up. Now, out of spite, anytime I go to a guitar store, guitar center, anything that sells guitars, I play Stairway to Heaven. Because I think it's just funny. And number two, stick it to the man. Who says I can't play this thing because you saw it in a movie and people say it? Like, shut the fuck up. Who cares? I think I've talked enough about that. Current favorite movies. Oh boy. Current favorite movies. I believe I have... Yeah, here we go. I've actually got a pretty big list here. No, it's not that big, but, you know. I also called it shit I like, because there might be some music recommendations in there that it's whatever. I love the Lego Movie, Parasite, Office Space, Better Call Saul, the Monogatari series. That is an anime. It's not for everybody, I would say. Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's definitely my favorite show. The Barbie movie. Austin Powers, for some reason. It's not, like, underrated or overrated. There's just something about those movies that it's impossible for me not to enjoy. I don't know. I know that they're not particularly well written or well structured, but I feel like that's also the point of the movie. They're parody spy movies. They're supposed to be parodying James Bond movies, and they don't make sense, but they're not supposed to. I don't know. Napoleon Dynamite, underrated. I think that's incredibly, remarkably underrated. And again, I think it's one of those things that, like, as a kid, it's just, you know, haha, funny bird-looking guy with glasses and an afro and fucking moon boots dance around, haha, funny. But then you watch it as an adult and you're like, wait, this is actually, like, one of the best movies ever made. It's so good. Kenny vs. Spenny, Clerks, Parks and Rec, even though I know Parks and Rec is, it's not bottom of the barrel, but I think it drops off after the first, I forget how many seasons are in it, but the later seasons really are not that great. SpongeBob seasons 1 through 3 and the movie, and that's it. Everything after that is not good to me. To Wong Fu, even though I know that movie's not particularly great. Monster House, Coraline, Ratatouille, Paranorman, The Iron Giant, Pulp Fiction, Dear Zachary. Try to avoid that one, that's all I'll say. Mouse Hunt, Grand Budapest Hotel, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982, not the 2011 version. That fucking movie sucks. Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2, Whiplash, Flight, even though I know that movie has its flaws, No Country for Old Men, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, The Incredibles, The Game with Michael Douglas, The Matrix. I misspelled Borat and forgot the R and it's spelled boat. I was like, what the fuck? The only reason I knew it was Borat because Bruno was after it. Borat, and weirdly enough, Bruno. I think Bruno, like, it's weird, like, I think the only reason people don't enjoy Bruno is because he's not Borat. But watch that movie objectively, like, he actually kind of outdoes himself. He does the same things from Borat, but, like, even better. The first Saw movie of the Jigsaw series, every other movie past that is just not that good. Silence of the Lambs and James and the Giant Peach. I'm sure there are other movies that I just haven't thought of to add to the list, but you can gauge, you know, where my interests lie there. The Lego Movie is just a brilliantly self-aware and visually inventive film that balances fun and deep thematic messages about creativity versus conformity. It's corporate, yet anti-corporate at the same time, which is really fascinating. Where do I even... All I said was I was just going to list movies that I like and why. Or not movies that I like and why, but... Whoops. Current favorite movies. I mean, I can talk about movies more, honestly. Will you stop running around? What is your problem? It's an underrated movie that I think deserves way more love than it gets. The Lego Movie is just so good. It's not even like it's just I love that movie. Like, it might actually be my favorite movie, but I don't like the reason that I say it might be my favorite movie is because of its accessibility. It just keeps switching around streaming platforms. Like there's very few times where like you can't find it somewhere. It's usually on some streaming platform. It's just really accessible. It's more often than not really easy to find. Jesus. Will you get out of here? Go. Get the hell out of here. Go away. Can't help but, like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but, like, shed a few tears at the end when Emmett drops the bombshell. Talking about you are the most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe. And you are capable of amazing things because you are the special. I botched the delivery of the line, but I don't give a shit. Just, it's not even that long of a movie either, but it doesn't insist upon this point being like an emotional thing. It actually earns it at the end. It's so good. People assume that it was just a toy commercial. It's just a really long ad for Lego, which, to be fair, I guess it kind of is. But it turned out to be like a really deep and emotionally powerful film. It's one of the best animated movies of the 2010s, and fuck the Oscars. How in the name of shit could you possibly see that movie and think it doesn't deserve an Oscar? How? Explain to me how. I don't know what it lost to, but fuck the other movie. Better writing, humor, and heart than most mainstream animated films. That ending is like so genuinely moving to me. Emmett's speech hits really hard because it's not just about him. It's about the audience too. The live action twist was brilliant because the entire movie is about a kid's imagination versus rigid rules, making it arguably one of the smartest meta-narratives in animation, because there's so many like simplistic dialogue choices. Where Wildstyle is looking for like, you're the special, right? The prophecy foretold that the special was the most interesting, most coolest, blah, blah, blah person ever. Is that person? Like, it's very obviously like almost as though it was written by a kid, because it was written by a kid, which is like a meta commentary on some of the more shittily, poorly written kids movies that might as well have been written by a kid. Like, they sound like they were written by a kid kind of thing, but they weren't. They were written by a boardroom of writers who actually got together. I'm not going to get into it too much. Phil Lord and Chris Miller put real love into that movie, and their writing style mixes chaotic humor with real emotional depth, something that most animated movies tend to struggle with. Why the final speech works so well. It takes the chosen one trope and flips it on its head. There is no prophecy. There is no magical destiny. Emmett's journey is all about realizing that anyone can be the special if they just believe in themselves. And that's not just for Emmett. It's for the audience, reinforcing that creativity, individuality, and imagination really do matter. It's one of the most positive and uplifting movie moments in modern animation. And it's a huge gut punch in like the best way possible. It lost the Oscar to Big Hero 6. That was the movie that I forgot it lost to. Really? Really? Big Hero 6. The Oscars actually fucking thought that Big Hero 6 was better than the Lego movie. Fuck your mother's shitty cunt. Fuck you. No. Big Hero 6, I mean, it's not that bad, but come on. People wrote it off as a kid's movie, when it's actually a brilliant satire about conformity, creativity, and corporate control. The humor is not just for kids. It's genuinely sharp, self-aware, and filled with deep-cut references, like the fact that Benny the spaceman is obsessed with building spaceships because his headpiece is cracked, just like the real Lego figures from the 80s always did. The Lego movie is a modern classic that's still is not fully appreciated. The final speech is just amazing to me, and I lose my mind every single time I watch that movie. It's so good. I just love that movie, and I'd highly recommend anybody watch that movie. If you could force everyone, hang on a second. Damn it. If you could force everyone to watch one underrated movie besides the Lego movie, what would it be? I'd have to say that it's hard to say, but Office Space is really, really good. I watched it, I didn't watch it as a kid, but I definitely watched it as a teenager. And some of the things went over my head and weren't as relatable, but there were plenty of things in that movie that, I understood it. Some of the kids in the theater might not appreciate it that much, and the parents will exceed the, you'll understand when you're older quota. It's a perfect choice, because it's one of those movies that hits completely differently depending on what stage of life you're in. It's a classic movie, honestly. I think it honestly does deserve a lot more recognition, because it's still painfully relevant today. It's weird how old that movie is too. It was made in 1999, but even though it was made in 1999, everything about soul-crushing corporate culture, micromanaging bosses, just meaningless, everything, it's even more relevant nowadays. It has to be one of the best workplace rebellion movies ever, because it captures that existential dread of modern jobs than pretty much any movie that tried to do that again. Mike Judge in general, just he's such a genius. His satire is just always perfectly on point, just like Idiocracy and Silicon Valley. Office Space understands how corporate systems dehumanize people. And the comedy is it's subtle, but just mind-bogglingly funny. It's not laugh out loud funny is the issue, but it's still hilariously bleak in the most relatable way possible. The you'll understand when you're older factor is pretty huge here. If you haven't had a soul-crushing job yet, a lot of the humor might not hit the same way. Watching Peter Gibbons just slowly stop giving a shit is so funny. Only if you've ever had to deal with a boss like Lumbergh. We need to talk about your TPS reports. It's just so good. I love it. Now, if I had to pick a younger, audience-friendly alternative, what would that movie be? A movie that still has sharp anti-corporate stick-it-to-the-system energy, but is easier for younger viewers to appreciate. And I don't know why I forgot about this one, but Monster House. Which, by the way, when I first saw that movie in theaters, I was a kid. I forget who took me to see it, but I saw the trailers for it, and I was like, this is going to be fucking stupid. I don't know. I love the fact that even as a kid, I was writing off movies as though I knew anything about it. I don't know. I went in with the expectation that I wasn't going to like the movie, but I loved that movie and still continue to love that movie. The main theme of the movie is about growing up, change, letting go of things, really. DJ and Chowder having to let go of their childhoods by going for one last Halloween run, and Mr. Nevercracker finally having to let go of the love of his life and letting Constance rest in peace. Or pieces. Phenomenal movie and a phenomenal choice, in my opinion. Criminally underrated as a kid's movie and as an actual horror film. It's the perfect, younger audience alternative to Office Space. Because it still has that stick-it-to-the-system energy. Whereas instead of corporate hell, it's about kids rebelling just against authority and uncovering a hidden truth, right? It deals with deeper themes beneath the surface. It's not just a fun haunted house story. It's about, growing up, change, loss, regret. I mean, it's about a lot of things. And weirdly enough, it's actually, genuinely kind of scary, too. Unlike most kids' horror movies, Coraline being another exception, Monster House has real tension, eerie visuals, and unsettling moments. Let me think here. What makes it good, though, is the biggest thing. The fact that it's, from the beginning, they established that it's not only is it Halloween, but it's their last Halloween. I think, the more I think about it, I think the movie is a big metaphor for the death of childhood, basically. DJ and Chowder have to go for one last Halloween run, knowing that after that, they'll never be able to do that ever again. They'll have to grow up. It's about moving on from not only those, but childish fears while still embracing the adventure, And I love the juxtaposition between that too, with Mr. Nevercracker and the house, or the spirit of Constance in the house. Not only embracing the future, but letting go of the past. Because Nevercracker's not just some scary old man. He's a tragic figure. He has to finally let go of Constance, who he's been trying to keep alive, both literally and emotionally, for years. And the house itself represents grief. He keeps feeding it, refusing to move on. One of the biggest reasons that Monster House, I think, is so underrated is because it's not only a kid's movie, but it's a horror movie that actually treats kids with respect. I cannot stand when movies, you'll see a thing happen and then have a character explain the thing you just fucking saw, just in case a majority of the audience didn't get it. I hate when movies assume that I need to be spoon-fed that information and that I'm that fucking stupid that I can't read between the lines. I hate when movies do that. Monster House doesn't do that. It's one of the few animated films that does not talk down to the audience. It balances humor and actual fear without feeling like it's trying too hard. The animation style with... I remember seeing this on CRT TVs, but watching it on modern day screens in HD, it's not that bad, but it's still pretty good. Honestly, it actually makes it feel a little creepier in a kind of weird way. Yeah, it's just really good. I like it a lot, honestly. I think I've glazed enough of the movies that I like I think it's dying. Will you stop running around? What is your problem? Jesus Christ. Let's talk about movies I hate now. What's an animated movie that's popular but really overrated? Can't think of any better movie than the Despicable Me movies and any of its subsequent sequels. I cannot fucking stand those goddamn movies. I don't know why there's so many. Isn't there like fucking like 6 Despicable Me movies now? Like, what the fuck is going on? Why do people like those movies? I don't understand. The first one was like, it wasn't good, but it also was not as like criminally offensive as the sequels were. Like, I hated those movies. To me, the perfect answer to that question, because Despicable Me is one of those franchises that honestly just should have stopped after the first movie, but it instead became a fucking corporate money printing machine. Because the first movie was fine. It didn't blow me away, but it was, I don't know, it was the least offensive of the movies. It was decent, but not groundbreaking. The idea of a villain learning to be a dad, fine, that's charming. But still kind of predictable. And also, by the way, not the first time it's been done. Can't remember the name of the movie that already did that, but whatever. The humor's okay, but nothing deserving of $1 billion franchise. Yeah, it just turned into a cash grab. Instead of character-driven storytelling, the sequels literally just repeat the same fucking formula with more minions. Which, by the way, the minions just completely took over. What started as just comic relief background characters, they became pretty much like the entire selling point of the franchise. The sequels felt like they exist just to sell toys and other shit to kids, not because there's an actual story worth telling. They're just annoying corporate mascots that they shove into everything. Our youngest, I think one of his favorite movies is just, I think it's either the Minion movie or it's just called Minions. I swear, it's just complete horseshit. It's just gibberish for 90 minutes straight with no emotional depth. Like, even if you liked Despicable Me, even if you liked the regular movies, Minions, like, there's just no way you're not completely burnt out on Minion content at this point. Despicable Me 2, 3, and 4, multiple Minion spin-offs, it's the same fucking movie, recycled over and over. And by the way, it's not even about Gru anymore. It's just an excuse to keep selling Minions. And it just refuses to evolve. It's just the same fucking thing every single time. You know, the first movie was fine as a one-off movie, but the fact that it turned into an overstuffed, repetitive horseshit franchise is, I don't know, I just don't like it. It is possibly like one of the most over-milked animated properties probably of all time, with each new entry feeling more unnecessary than the last. I hate Minions, honestly. I can't think of any other bad. What are some other bad shit that I hate? Bad movies. Bad movies and bad things. Oh, Velma sucks. Velma sucks. Like, Velma sucks shit out of the balls of Christ. That's one of the worst fucking things. And don't worry, I'll explain why. Jesus, that movie's so fucking... I hate Velma. Or it's not a movie, it's a show. But it's still really bad. Where is it? Trying to find where I wrote it down. And now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. movies or shows that I originally was excited for, but ended up being letdowns. There's actually a few of those, but the most, because of recency bias, the best examples that come to mind were Velma, Pretty in Pink, Next Level Chef, The Happening, and Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, weirdly enough. Brutal list of disappointments. Velma is just an absolute fucking horse shit covered dumpster fire. I cannot even begin to explain why Velma's so bad, but I'll try. It was massively hyped because of the Scooby-Doo brand, but it literally insulted its own fan base. First, I just fucking hate Mindy Kaling. And am I a little biased because of that? Sure, but is that unjustified? Not at all. Mindy Kaling is a cunt with a capital C. Good God. Can we fucking cancel Mindy Kaling already? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. I hate her, and everyone hates her. It insulted its own fan base. Instead of, like, being a clever reimagining, it felt like it was made by people who hated Scooby-Doo and wanted to be too cool for it. It just tries way too hard to be a thing it's not. When it should have just stuck with the source material, which, by the way, you can stick to source material and do something creative and new as opposed to, you know, things that tried to stick to the source material but remained predictable. Like, it is possible to make things that aren't predictable that way, right? Unfunny, try-hard writing, just forced meta humor, bad attempts at edginess for the sake of edginess, and above all else, there's just no charm whatsoever. Nobody acted like themselves. Like, and this was something that YMS brought up when talking about Velma. What is the point of even, like, having it be a Scooby-Doo related thing when, number one, very little of it actually has to do with Scooby-Doo, and number two, nobody actually acts like themselves. Nobody. Like, what is the point? Why even call it Scooby-Doo when there's no... Number one, there's no fucking Scooby-Doo, and none of the characters resemble any of their original personalities. And I assumed, I kept my mind open to the possibility that, well, maybe they'll explain this later, because at least it's consistent, right? Every character feels like just completely different from what they're originally supposed to be. Okay, maybe it's a commentary on something, maybe they'll explain it in some other thing. Some sort of metaverse, or excuse me, not metaverse, multiverse. Why did I say metaverse? Multiverse type thing. Like, they would explain it in some creative way, but they never fucking do. They just, this is just the way the characters are. They're all just cunty assholes who are not really at all related to anything in the Scooby-Doo franchise. Again, so at that point, then why even call it Scooby-Doo? Like, I wouldn't mind it if they were their own proprietary whatever, you know? If it was just its own standalone thing, I wouldn't care. It just doesn't make sense for these characters to even be at all related to the Scooby-Doo universe, because they don't behave anything like any of the Scooby-Doo characters. There's just no love whatsoever. It was made to check boxes, and above all else, just manufacture controversy, because Mindy Kaling is a fucking cunt, and everyone hates her. She's what happens when you let a person who thrives on negative attention just go crazy and do whatever they want, basically. I'm fully convinced that that's basically who she is. Like, I can't stand Mindy Kaling. Pretty in Pink. From 1986. That's a little later than I actually assumed. The ultimate fake deep rom-com. It had Molly Ringwald. Molly fucking Ringwald at the peak of her career. Like, here's the thing. I watched The Breakfast Club. I watched 16 Candles. I forget if there's another Molly Ringwald movie. And there were so many people that told me, yeah, you should watch Pretty in Pink. If you like those other John Hughes 80s movies, you'll definitely love Pretty in Pink. And then I try watching and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is so bad. Like, I consider it a stain on Molly Ringwald's career, that movie. Like, it's so bad. It should have been a slam dunk because it was Molly Ringwald at the peak of her career. What the fuck were they thinking with this movie? 115.50, got it. Whoops, sorry about that. Yeah, it has, like, so much wrong with it. So much wrong with it. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. I have to make sure that my mic is also recording, by the way. Because if it's not, I'm going to be in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so many of Gordon Ramsay's shows literally just recycle so much of the same structure. That and, like... And it's not just Gordon Ramsay shows. There are so many TV shows that just... I swear to God, click on any reality TV show. Any of them. Why does every single, either competitive or not, reality TV show... No, it's competitive reality TV shows. Why do they all have to have some fucking countdown? Every single time. There's a countdown in multiple instances of the episode. Why are there so many countdowns? And that's when you realize, oh, it's meant to manipulate the viewer into thinking there's actual stakes and tension, but there's not. None of the moments that they make you think come down to the wire like that ever actually happen that way. They never actually come down to the wire. It's all just manufactured to make you think that it is. And once you know that, it just... Again, it also just becomes, like, impossible not to notice as well. It's not that egregious with some other shows, for example, like with the Great British Baking Show. But Gordon Ramsay, like, it... Just one-trick ponies, that shit, every single time. Gordon Ramsay should equal high-quality TV. High-quality food TV, in particular. But the Next Level Chef, in particular, is just so gimmicky and forced. The multi-level kitchen idea is just kind of a cheap novelty that doesn't actually add anything to the actual competition. Plus... For some reason, like, it was the, what was that movie called? What movie is Next Level Chef based on? Yeah, The Platform. I I saw the movie, and I actually saw that movie, like, without looking anything up about it, without, like, seeing if YMS had talked about it. And I came up with, weirdly enough, I came up with my own opinions about it, and, like, 90% of them lined up with what YMS also had to say about the movie. Arguably the biggest flaw is how other levels of the building can exploit how the platform works. It would be really, really easy, but they just choose not to because there must be stakes in this movie. I don't know. It's a bad movie. It's more... Next Level Chef in particular is more about... it's more about reality drama than an actual competition. Instead of it being about real talent, it's just reality competition. Nobody actually cares. And also, in the first season of Next Level Chef, I knew exactly who was going to win, like, from the first episode. I was like, yeah, she's clearly better than everybody there. Also, Gordon Ramsay content is just really watered down. Instead of the, you know, brutal but fair criticism of Hell's Kitchen or MasterChef, it all just feels really scripted and fake. Having said that, I don't know. Maybe I'll try watching it. Maybe I'll try watching the next season of it. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I still find Gordon Ramsay entertaining, just for the most part. But I usually just go back to either Hell's Kitchen or Kitchen Nightmares or something like that. The Happening. Oh, sweet Mary, Mother of God. The Happening. M. Night fucking Shyamalan. What were you thinking? It's a horror thriller from the guy who made The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. He made The Sixth Sense. I don't I just the life and career of M. Night Shyamalan just never ceases to amaze me, honestly. How can you start so high and end so low? I don't get it. What the fuck happened? It was so bad it became a meme. The acting, literally everything about the movie is just so fucking stupid. And by the way, the whole premise, killer plants. And they're not like monster plants. It's like, no, just the way they spread pollen. Now the pollen is poisonous and can kill you or make you want to unalive yourself. Mark Wahlberg, I don't know why they casted Mark Wahlberg to be a science teacher of all things. He's just really not a good actor. No. Mark Wahlberg sucks. It tries to be deep. It feels just dumb. It's supposed to be a metaphor for environmental destruction, and I get it, but it's executed so bad that it's impossible to take seriously. Like, the only way to enjoy The Happening is to watch it as a comedy. Like, that's the only way. And the twist is just nothing. Like, because guess what? The movie just ends. There's no payoff. There's nothing at the end of the movie. It just ends. I found a DVD of The Happening. It was either at like a pawn shop or a Goodwill or something, and I'm reminded of the fact that I haven't seen that movie in a few years, and I definitely need to watch that movie again. God, it's so bad. Last but not least, Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. Weirdly bad for a Scooby-Doo movie. Completely dropped the ball. And it sucks because, like, I tried watching it again as an adult, and I really, because I'd seen blips of it as a kid on TV, and I was like, yeah, that looks pretty cool. I watched the whole thing from start to finish as an adult, and I just could not believe, like, how boring and uninspiring and terrible Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. I'm just going to call it... no, I can't call it Cyber Chase because there's a show called Cyber Chase, I think. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And above all else, it's just really, really boring, too. It's executed really, really lazily. The virtual world should have been exciting, but just felt like another generic Saturday morning episode stretched into a movie. The villain, the electricity guy, I don't even remember his name. That's how unimportant he is. He's just so weak, and there's no mystery to the, there's no real mystery to solve with the movie itself. And also the fact that, like, it establishes the powers that the villain has, yet he doesn't use any of them. Like, he kind of just walks around and it tries to be intimidating, but he doesn't actually do anything. And the issue I have, he's supposed to have powers and actually shows himself using those powers earlier in the movie, but then they just forgot about them and he never uses those powers ever again. Which, by the way, reminds me of another trait of things that movies and anything really, things that entertainment media does that pisses me off. When the movie or show does not follow the rules that it establishes. So many people think, oh, you just don't like fiction. You just don't like fantasy. You just don't like this. You just don't like that because it's not scientifically possible or it requires a suspension of disbelief. There are many, many things in my list that I mentioned are fantasy or whatever, that things that require a suspension of disbelief. I have no problem with suspending disbelief in something. I have no problem with that. So long as the movie, I'm just going to go with the movie for example, follows the rules that the movie establishes. That's all that I care about. It's like, why establish these rigid rules if you're just going to break those rules anyway? It's hard to think of specific examples, but one of the best examples of what I was just talking about are a villain or some other character with powers that has these powers, has been established to have these powers, and just conveniently forgets about them when the plot requires it. Or there needs to be stakes in this particular scene of the movie. Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it makes sense if you're a really lazy writer, but there are other ways that you can't think of a better word, manufacture stakes without it violating the rules that the movie establishes. And there's plenty of other examples, but again, that's small tangent. That's another one of the biggest fucking things that I hate about just any fantasy movie. It's just when the movie breaks its own rules. I can't fucking stand that. The villain of Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase is like I could fucking beat that guy if you sent me into that virtual world. I could just fucking kick him in the goddamn face and he'd be done. Like, he can't do anything. It seems like most of his powers are either just magic tricks or just whatever things that he uses to demonstrate how powerful he is, but isn't actually. And there's also, like, no mystery. Unlike Zombie Island or Witch's Ghost, the reveal for Cyber Chase was just boring and predictable. Oh, gee, I wonder who it could be. Not one of the programmers who fucking made the game in the first place. It felt like a step down from the legendary 90s to early 2000s Scooby-Doo movies. Cyber Chase just felt really cheap and uninspired compared to Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, Alien Invaders, or Ghoul School. Excuse me. Ghoul School. It also had some wasted potential, too. Like, the idea of digital doppelgangers of the game could have been cooler, but they didn't do anything with it, you know? I just didn't really care about it. Weirdly enough, a lot of my taste in disappointments, they actually all have, weirdly enough, they all have things in common. They had wasted potential. They all had wasted potential in some way. Every single one of these things could have been great if they executed it properly, which they didn't. They all had tone and writing issues, whether it was Velma's try-hard edginess, The Happening's awkward acting, or Cyber Chase's lazy story. They all just kind of felt off. They all had corporate interference in some way. You can just feel the meddling with Pretty in Pink's forced ending, Next Level Chef's gimmicks, Velma's soulless cash grab, like everything, you know. And they all fall short of their peers. They all pale in comparison to similar media. Cyber Chase versus Zombie Island, Pretty in Pink versus The Breakfast Club, all that, right? Yeah. It would appear that I've been yapping for quite a while here. And it would also appear that, because of my timestamps, it would also appear that I actually have some editing to do as well. Luckily, I can yeah, no, luckily I can actually pretty effectively in DaVinci Resolve put some markers in there. Now that I'm getting better at doing these, I can edit them. So some of the more brain fog moments can either just be edited out entirely or yeah. So I've talked about movies long enough, I feel. That appears to be everything on the itinerary so far. I'm sure this probably won't be this probably won't be the first or last movie podcast that I do. I don't think that I watch movies necessarily enough to have a regular amount of podcasts about them, but who knows, maybe. I feel like I probably could have talked a little more about some of the things I enjoy, but I'll probably save it for another episode. It's getting late, and my shoulders hurt for some reason. I'm almost 30, and that happens sometimes. Big whoop, want to fight about it. Anyway. Gonna go ahead and have to sign off here. Where are you? Sorry, I have to find it again. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. Like I always say at the end of every episode, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. There's always something you can learn or get something useful out of, even from the most unexpected of places. Weirdly enough, I actually think the best example of that is a Lego movie. I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop talking about the Lego movie. It's so good. Watch it. It's... What is that? I'm sorry. Yeah, the Lego movie's just fucking... It's so good. It might actually be my favorite movie. Watch it, and then watch it again. Okay. Have a good one, and enjoy the rest of whatever you're doing. And also, clean up your desk. Yeah, you. Clean up your desk.